welcome to Season 6, Episode 13, which is also Episode 176 of the Retro Game Club podcast. I am Rob, and joining me as always is someone formerly known as Kong Dong, Hugh.
What do you mean formerly? No, yeah, that was a funny article that leaked. I guess a few different sites covered it, where it was a list of names Nintendo considered for Donkey Kong. Most of it just due to, I think, if you read, I think it's Game Over, Press Start to Continue's the name of the book. They talk a little bit about the history of how Donkey Kong was named, and there's a lot of guys that didn't know any English trying to figure out what to name the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's fine. I don't know any Japanese. If I tried to give a game a Japanese name, I would probably be, I don't know, what's a good title for a game? Like Mega Slayer 3000. Right, like I'm making a shooter. I want to call it Mega Slayer 3000, but when I translate to Japanese, it's going to be like chicken teriyaki or something.
Yeah, yeah. I think that game would have been popular no matter what it. I don't think because it was called Donkey Kong is the reason why it became popular.
Yeah, but I think a bad name can ruin something. I mean, I can think of like some bands that are kind of good, but they have really awful names, and nobody listens to them. I wonder, are there any games where the title is really bad, but the game is good, but no one plays it because the title is so bad? Like maybe Phalanx is actually a good game, but because of the box art, nobody bought it.
I was just gonna say that one as well. Yeah.
Bad title, not a great name for a game either.
Yeah.
Like, is Princess Tomato in Salad Kingdom any good?
No. I mean,
it's not. Okay.
No. Well, I mean, they're also B-17 Bomber, like those generic names. Now it just comes off as Steam shovelware, Yeah,
if you just called it B-17 Bomber or something like that.
Yeah, F-16 Falcon. Yeah, just it doesn't really work anymore.
I seem to recall on Game Boy Advance, one of the Lizzie McGuire games is actually pretty good. It's a platformer. I think it's Lizzie McGuire 2, The Lizzie Diaries, something like that. I might have the title off by a little bit.
And that's a platformer?
And that's what it's a platformer. Yeah, it's just a platformer.
Wow. Huh.
I think it's GBA. I gotta look this up. It could be Game Boy Color. It's been a while since I played it.
That could be a future Game Club game.
It will not be. Lizzie McGuire 2, The Lizzie Diaries. Watch a video of it and you tell me what you think, man. The graphical style is obviously not like, whatever. It's not Mario, but it's sort of a basic platformer for Game Boy Advance that is better than a lot of platformers on the Game Boy Advance.
I might check it out. It might be a future Game Club game.
I don't know about the other games. I don't remember if Lizzie McGuire 3 Homecoming Havoc is any good, for example. Since I don't remember it, it's probably not that good.
Did you own that one?
I did, so very long time ago, back before like the retro gaming price bubble, which never seems to burst, I bought, like a shoebox filled with Game Boy Advance games from a yard sale. And a lot of them were kind of kids games. They were things targeted for younger players, but there's other stuff. There was I could bring out the box of the games. I basically threw them in a shelf. I have like a storage shelf with pull out drawers. But there's actually some really good stuff in there too. So it was a mixed bag, but it was like, I don't know, a couple dollars for this shoebox of Game Boy games.
I mean, you can't go wrong with that. Now you could probably, I don't know, have Game Boy Advance games gone up that much? I kind of think they have. If they're boxed, I know they have.
Yeah, like Pokemon games are, cost as much as a mortgage.
Yeah, yeah. But what else has been going on since we last talked?
So I was, I know we both have like Nintendo Direct takeaway notes. There was a Nintendo Direct, I don't know, a week or two ago. And one of the things they mentioned was there were some new Nintendo 64 games. I think it was Toric and Perfect Dark. Those are the two they released.
Yeah.
And I did see them on the Nintendo 64 app. And I checked for updates. I didn't realize you have to download a different Nintendo 64 app to play those.
What?
It's,
Oh,
yeah, it's
yeah,
the
you
Nintendo
do.
64 Mature 17 Plus app,
Wow.
which is a different app. Well, I don't know. Like so far, Game Boy and NES games predate, for the most part, predate when there were ratings on games. Like someone will write it in some hyper technical way. There was, an NES game that had an ESRB rating. But like Game Boy Advance and Super Nintendo were definitely viable systems during the time when their ESRB ratings, right? Because the ESRB was largely created in a response to Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. So I'm not wondering, like, are they going to do the same with Game Boy Advance and Super Nintendo? It's kind of a puzzle. I don't know. There aren't a lot of like 17 plus games for Super Nintendo, but if they did like Doom or somehow Mortal Kombat, again, that's like a licensing thing. They probably won't. I guess that would have to be a different app. Weird.
Yeah, Nintendo After Dark, they should call it.
Yeah, much better name. But one of the other games that came on Game Boy, it came on the Game Boy Advance, was Metroid Zero Mission, which is like the remake of the original Metroid, but with sort of Super Metroid style graphics and gameplay.
Yeah, I recently beat that for the first time.
Okay, I'm about to fight Crad, or is it Kraid? I don't know.
Kraid.
But I'm gonna Kraid. So I'm almost a Kraid. And I like it, except like it's fixed. You know what I mean? Like the original Metroid was all kinds of buggy, and you could skip stuff. You could skip both the mini bosses. You could do stuff out of order. And this game doesn't feel like you can do any of that.
Yeah, it is a fantastic game, though. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. I played up till Kraid, and I'll probably finish it over the next couple nights. And then the other thing is, I made the list of like my, the games through the end of the year that I want to talk about, and then I'm gonna throw my microphone in electronics recycling. No, I probably won't do that, but you get the point.
Yeah.
I had made a joke before, like the last game on my list was Spy versus Spy, and then I'm like, no, that's not the last. That's off the list. Spy versus Spy is gone. But I kind of scoped out, based on our recording schedule, like the next, I don't know, 11 or 12 things I want to talk about. And for me, it was like I was going through the list. I'm like, over the past, like, I've been doing podcasts like 15 years. Like over 15 years, I think I've talked about every game I want to talk about. That's the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyhow, but no, there's some really good ones coming up. Most of them are ones I have not covered before, but they're probably something I've mentioned. It's hard not to mention some of these games a few times. Anyhow,
Yeah,
you'll
Lizzie
find out
McGuire.
what they are later.
Yeah.
Lizzie McGuire, yeah. What have you been up to?
Let's see. Yeah, I have Nintendo Direct notes as well. Of course, Zelda Echoes of Wisdom looks great.
It does.
Yeah, like Link's Awakening meets Tears of the Kingdom. Who would have thought? And I'd like to remind everyone that this is not the first game where you play as Zelda. We have Wanda Gamelon and Zelda's Adventures, which would have been Game Club games, at least one of them. Not even as a joke, just because it's a part of history, but I couldn't get Bato Sarah to play nice with they loaded, but I couldn't get the buttons working. So you were saved by bugginess.
Yeah, I own a functioning CDI.
Do you have those
I don't
games?
No, I only own one CDI game. I have Defender of the Crown. It's the only CDI game I own because, well, CDI games that's another like dumb expensive one. I mean, I can get like Tour of the Smithsonian for $1, I guess. Mm-hmm. But things that are actually like games are usually expensive. Defender of the Crown is, I guess, not popular. So I got that pretty cheap, and that is literally the only game I own for it.
Yeah, I only own Felix the Cat because it was like $2.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably mentioned how I got my CDI 100 times over a while, but I went to I'm not sure if you're familiar with Highland Park, Illinois. You probably are at least familiar with it. It's one of the, it's a high-income suburb, right? It was in the news a couple of years ago because of a mass shooting. And I'm sure in the coverage of the mass shooting, they mentioned how this is like one of the wealthiest suburbs in Illinois. So they actually have a thrift store in town. It's got a weird name. It's like Ort, I think is the name of the thrift store. I'm not making this up. Like ORT is the name of the thrift store. I just went there like 2 months ago when I was taking my kid to practice driving. And in the electronics section, they had like a stack of VCRs and stereos, and there right in the middle was a CDI. Because it's Highland Park. People probably just bought the CDI and, threw it on their spare TV and then just chucked it,
Yeah.
Yeah. My pro tip, I had the mistake of doing this once, of driving through Highland Park at the wrong time of year. So again, wealthy suburb. They have a spring cleanup day out there. By the show's going to get more off topic the closer I get to not podcasting anymore. They have a spring cleanup day in Highland Park, like first week of spring. And it's basically you could put anything on the curb and the city will take it.
Okay.
Typically you can't put like a couch on the curb. You have to do it during spring cleanup day. I wasn't aware of this, and I definitely wasn't aware that it draws in people from like the entire Chicagoland area to go scavenging in Highland Park for rich person furniture.
Okay. You were there the wrong
I've
day.
never seen so many cars just trolling through, grabbing I literally helping people unload the stuff from their house even. Like, oh, you're throwing at the dining room table? Let me get the chairs for you, And by the way, people were chucking really nice stuff. I was shocked. To give our listeners an example, all of our listeners have seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right?
I'm assuming they have, yeah.
All of them. So the house that Cameron lives in with like the car, in the garage.
Yeah,
right?
the museum
That's
house.
Highland Park.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Highland Park.
Yeah.
Okay. And I don't think that's the most expensive house there.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Home Alone house. No, that's Winnetka. Sorry, next suburb over. All these, getting all the John Hughes movies mixed up. Anyways, what else is going on with you?
Well, still Nintendo Direct. That new Mario and Luigi game looks pretty good. Have you played any of those?
I played the first one and maybe the second one.
Okay.
I definitely haven't done Bowser's Inside Story. I bought that when it was new with the intention of playing it the day I bought it, and there it is on my shelf.
And then Donkey Kong Returns seems fine. Whatever.
It's $60 for a game that was just $30 on
I know,
DS,
exactly, yeah. Let's see, I watched a bunch of the NES Odyssey, which was I think 1 week Twitch stream of any retro Twitch streamer where you signed up on this Google Sheet and all these people beat every single Nintendo game.
Okay, I saw the page and I wasn't sure if it was like two dudes kind of not, tag teaming it.
That would have been more impressive. No, but
yeah, I didn't think they could pull that off. And there are some games, Shadowgate, once you know how to beat it, you can beat it in 10 minutes or something.
But yeah, so it was some good Twitch last week. And then
here's the sheet.
I was catching up on some of Shinto's Jaguar Game by Game, and which is a podcast. And I was listening to the Rayman episode, and I almost fell over. He mentioned the Retro Game Club podcast, and it was because of your video that you had Hard for Games digitized. Yeah,
the Atari Jaguar promo tape. Still my favorite video game promo tape ever.
I don't know if I've even seen it.
Yeah, but it's on their page. They actually were kind enough to give me an upload of just a straight extract without like their commentary.
Mm-hmm.
I ripped it before, but I just don't have the hardware to do like a good quality rip. And they sent me a really good quality rip, so I appreciated it. And it's it's a store promo tape for the Atari Jaguar. Got it when I was working at Walden Software. We had these monitors in the store that were hooked up to a VCR. And people would drop in, vendors would leave us promo tapes all the time. Like the Windows 95 promo tape with Jennifer Aniston and one of the other friends.
Yeah.
We played that pretty much on a 24-hour loop leading up to the Windows 95 launch. But then this Jaguar one, we played that a lot too. The Jaguar was pretty much a dead system by the time we got this tape. But it was a long tape. It was over an hour. And it didn't have like a lot of annoying commentary. It was just gameplay footage. That's it. Just an hour of clips of Jaguar games. And Rayman was, I think, not released yet. I think that was in the coming soon section of that tape. I got to check again, but if you go look, for the Hard for Games channel, look at that Jaguar promo tape. Very good. good riff they did.
And I'd like to point out that Shinto's podcasts are the opposite of ours, where he does tons of research and editing and preparation and funny jokes.
Yeah. No tips about how to get free furniture. Yeah, I know. That stuff.
Yeah. And then, not retro, but kind of interesting that Hori just released Valve's new Steam controller, and it looks like a controller with Steam buttons on it.
Yeah, looks fine. Hori makes good controllers. So.
Yeah, I liked the original Steam controller. I think I'm the guy that liked it. And, so I don't know about this one.
I was just actually looking at a Hori thing just a couple of days ago because I've had the Switch for a long time. I like the Switch, but all the controllers are way too small. Right?
Yeah.
They're tiny. And I think it's Hori that makes like giant Wii controllers. Not like I actually want to get like a Joy. I want to get like an NES Advantage, but for the Switch, they don't make one. But they do make things that replace, what are the things that slide on called?
Joy-Cons.
Joy-Cons, yeah. They make giant Joy-Cons.
Yeah, those are nice. Those are.
Yeah.
Very ergonomical.
Yeah.
Should we record a podcast?
Yeah. Let's see here. I ended this article as a Rob article. The first one we have here is completing the Apple IIc upgrade experience. So this is from nerdlypleasures.blogspot.com, and it's about doing all the Apple IIc upgrades.
Yeah, including the backlit keyboard.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I think it's neat.
Yeah. That's my point. I was like, oh, this isn't really something I would ever do. And like, oh, Rob will like this.
Yeah, it's something I would do. In fact, I just received in the mail an Apple IIgs overdrive card, so that's something I will probably never use.
That is the problem. I've tried before to build like a Raspberry Pi that was just dedicated to play Apple II games, and I've probably done that project twice, and then fired up and be like, I don't want to play any of this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's better ways. There's better ports usually. And let's see. Sega's Neptune console is now being made in FPGA form. So some company in Brazil is making the Neptune, which was the Genesis Mega Drive with a built-in 32X was the Neptune.
Yeah.
And so someone's actually making one, which, I mean, I wish Analog would have just done this when they released their whatever their Mega Drive thing was. That would have been a lot easier. But yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised this isn't a tech toy project, because I assume this is licensed. These Sega systems had really long lifespans in Brazil because of, as I understand it, because of their electronics import laws, and because Tectoy licensed and manufactured Sega consoles there. As I understand, you can't import a game console in Brazil. It has to be built in Brazil.
Or I think it's a giant tariff.
Right. So that's why some people joke about like the Master System being around in Brazil for a long time. Well, sure. I mean, Master System's not bad, I guess, but it's mostly because of the laws there. It's not like they were. I don't know. It's some weird thing for the Master System.
I wonder if this will be PAL only, or if it'll be support NTSC as well.
Brazil is Brazil PAL?
I thought so. At first I thought they were CCAM, but I don't think they are. I think they're PAL.
They're PAL. Look at that.
So if so, this would work in Australia, but I have a Mister. Like, I have no need for this unless I want to play my cards, which actually that is a good reason to have this. So who knows? Maybe. What else? Oh, I think this is my favorite article of the week. Sony's developing PS3 emulation for select titles. So this sounds like kind of like what Xbox did, where for select titles you could throw them in and they will meaning the actual old PS3 discs into your PS5, and they'll actually play on an emulator with maybe some upscaling or new textures, which is what Xbox did. But I don't know. I still think this is half-assed. Like, you should have on Xbox and PS5, if you have an emulator, which they do, it's in there, it should just try to play the games. You know, it might not be perfect, but it should at least make a best effort, even if they didn't upscale it or anything like that. I know people might say, well, it's a licensing thing. It's like, well, not really, because PS2 did that.
Yeah, and you can play PS4 games, and the PS5 just fine too.
Exactly, yeah. But you didn't have to emulate it. You know, they could argue in court it's like the same hardware, I guess. Because it looks the same. This is one generation where I'm like, I really don't see a difference here. Like, maybe in the new Doom game, like maybe in games starting to come out now, but that's kind of, for me, it's kind of too little too late. So, yeah, I am excited for that.
Someone recently uploaded the complete Doom for Super Nintendo source code. 3 Amiga discs.
Yeah. Yeah. And have you looked at the size of this download?
What is it? Is it insane?
Yeah, because you have the different types. Like, it's kind of like an
Oops, I actually just downloaded it.
924 meg.
Oh, wow. I'm going to cancel that download. Yeah, it's a gig.
It's because it's using, like, what's that when they record the actual flux of the disc?
Yeah, hold on. I went to click the thing that says show all files and start downloading again.
I'm waiting for your internet to just, I'm waiting for your video to just drop. Yeah, it's, let's see, 3 zips. So it's the raw flux files, the ADFs, and the extracted code.
Yep, it's those raw, the .raw files are the problem here. That is huge. Well, definitely get it now.
Still very cool. And kind of old news now. I feel like everything happens the day after we record.
Yes.
So Atari 50 added an expansion that is it expands, like, you know, the regular Atari set, but it also has the first console war. So it's Atari versus Intellivision, which they could do now since they own most of that. And I think this is cool because they added more timeline features. They just didn't dump more games into it. There's more videos and interviews and stuff like that, which I think is neat.
Yeah, it doesn't have Intellivision games yet, though. That's the part that I find kind of interesting here. But they're adding 19 more playable games under the wider world of Atari. And apparently this is free, or you can pay for it. Those are your options. It's free if you just want the digital download, like you already own this game and you just want to download it. That's how I'm reading this announcement. If I'm reading it wrong, let me know.
Yeah.
And the other one is the console war, which features the M Network games, which are the kind of watered down versions of several Intellivision games. So it's not the Intellivision games that they just acquired recently. They're still Atari 2600 games. I suspect, you know, they've figured out that they can release an Intellivision collection for like $30 and people like me will buy it.
I mean, so I feel like they could make an Intellivision 50. You know, it might not sell as well as the Atari one, but they could do something there. There's got to be enough people to interview about that, different ports and whatnot. Maybe go into like the voice synthesis chip, stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Intellivision 50 would not even have 50 games, though. I mean, I realize the 50 refers to the founding of the company, but...
Yeah.
This is coming. Look, I'm an Intellivision fan. I just said I will straight up buy this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited for this. I think this is good. I think Atari's on a really great streak here. So keep it going.
Yeah. Yeah, do ColecoVision next. Seriously, buy ColecoVision from whoever
exactly
owns that, and you know, Astrocade, whatever the consoles like are just sitting in like some IP storage locker right now. I
Yeah.
there's no better outcome I can think of than Atari. The best outcome is like I become an eccentric billionaire, and then I would buy all these things and just release them open source.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. But anything's better than Embracer Group embracing these old things.
Yeah. Oh, I haven't complained about Embracer Group lately, but I'll save that one for later.
It's in our bingo. Let's see. Dune 2 was released for Amiga. And I'm trying to find a year here. I cannot find it. But anyways, the original developer of the Dune 2 Amiga game is remastering it for Amiga from scratch, the way he wanted it to be oh so long ago. And I think that is fantastic. We are on his Patreon page, so if you want to give him money to help him out, it's not a bad idea if you're into this. Now, I don't think I've ever played a Dune game.
Sorry. $3 a month, and you get, I don't know. I don't actually know what the difference between $1 and $3 a month gets you.
Some people just like to support more, help a person out. Some of these Patreons I look at and I calculate how much money they're making. Not really like retro people, but some YouTube type people.
Yeah.
It's just like, why do I have a real job? Like,
yeah. Did you watch so I don't watch a lot of YouTube, but my wife is a big Star Wars fan.
I was just going to say what you're going to say. Oh my God. We did not talk about this ahead of time. Yeah.
Oh yeah. We didn't plan this at all. So I said, hey, let's watch that Star Wars Hotel documentary.
It
took 2 nights. 4 hours. It took us 2 full nights. It took us actually 3 nights.
It's fantastic.
Great documentary. Great. Yeah. But I made the mistake of looking at that woman's Patreon page.
Yeah, what's her name? Jenny Nicholson, I want to say.
Nicholson, yeah. Nichols or Nicholson. Whatever. You're going to find her well before you find our podcast, so you're going to know who this is. But, yeah, there's 50,000 patrons.
At least paying $1.
At least
she has up to $30
minimum.
a month. Up to $30 a month.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, okay, so before taxes, that's, 50,000 a month. And I get it. It's a good quality. People want to pay for it. Great. I mean, I thought the video was really good. I haven't watched any of your other videos, but I thought that one was really good. But yeah, I was like, man, I for sure picked the wrong line of work, man.
Yeah, I calculated it, and I think like after Patreon fees and after taxes, I think she was making at least like 30 grand a month.
Yeah, I think it's got to be more.
It's just insane. Well, if you think about it, there's health insurance and stuff like that someone has to pay for, and
somebody does have to pay for health insurance, But even that's what I mean. A off-the-shelf policy for someone. She seems pretty young. With $1,000 a month, I don't know. Maybe she lives in Canada. I don't even know if she lives in the U.S.
I think I think she lives in California. I think because
okay.
I was like, how this is crazy. Like, I wish I wanted to be on video and do YouTube stuff. Or the stupid Barbie YouTube videos my 5-year-old daughter watches on YouTube Kids. Like that girl that just like has a green screen and some Barbies. Just making, $100 grand a month. No problem.
Yeah. But what did you think of that hotel? What did you think of the points made in that documentary?
I think she was spot on almost every single thing, where they just dropped the ball every time, and they decided that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was too good for the price, so they wanted to upcharge people, and they just did it completely wrong. And it left people exhausted in the end instead of a fun experience.
Yeah, I think the idea of I'm going to this fancy hotel, it's for expensive hotel, and I'm going to spend the entire time staring at my phone, that does not sound like a vacation.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, last time I took my vacation, I took a vacation. I'm like, I want to go places where I don't even get a cell reception.
Yeah. I'm the kind of guy that could just stare at a beach for 6 hours a day. I'm fine.
Yeah. Yeah. I just do not get the point of that hotel. It's like you're in this hotel and you're going to stare at your phone scanning QR codes all day.
Yeah.
Like that was the part that my biggest takeaway was was that
It's 7 a.m. till 11 p.m., right?
yeah, in a little tiny, you have a fairly small room. And I just thought the whole bit where she was showing all the clips where like nobody that worked for Disney would call it a hotel. They just wouldn't call it Star Wars Hotel. It was, Star Wars blah 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 experience, And it's like, yeah, they've lost it, man.
Yeah.
It's too much like groupthink. Like I've been sitting in a group talking about interactive experiences, and now when I talk to normal people, I can't say the word hotel.
Yeah. Everyone should watch that video. It is great.
Yeah. You've gone to Disney World probably, right?
What's that?
Have you gone to Disney World?
Not since a kid. I took the family to Disneyland because I'm not a fan of giving Florida my money.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. So, but did you stay at a Disney hotel?
Yeah.
Right.
Because we wanted to get
huge.
in the hour early and just be there. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So they're huge. I've stayed at like 4 different Disney hotels. Like, just take one of those buildings and put a bunch of Star Wars stuff in it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Boom.
That's all you need. That's it. Make it an extra $100 a night if you want to.
Yeah.
Let's see what else. Oh, before we get into, there is no topic, but I did want to bring up, Hugh, I did email you a while ago about the Lynx pickup that I got.
Oh yeah, I saw I saw your big pile of Atari Lynx games. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Gamesman, I think it's called, in like Southwest Sydney, and I saw online that they may have some Lynx games, so I took the train out there, walked from the train station into there, and I couldn't find any. They had a ton of like Wii U, PS1, and actually quite a bit of PSP games. And but so I asked the guy, I'm like, is there anything like I'm missing? Like, do you have any Lynx games? He's like, I don't think so. And I showed him on his page. I'm like, can you look at the back to see if you have this? And he walked out with a box, like, I don't know, a 3 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot box filled with new shrink wrapped, unopened Lynx games. And I almost fell over because they were like priced like no one ever wanted them. I feel like it's the one thing that they had in their store that they didn't know the worth. And I feel like the manager may have not been there while I was there asking for this stuff, and something may have happened if, you know what I mean? If someone older like me was there. But he's like, why don't you, is the one game you're looking for here? And my bag was like, I wasn't going to walk out with a box and carry it on the train. And I just had a bag, only so big. So I'm like, trying to think what I could fit in my bag. I'm like, I'll take these few, but can I just pay for the rest of these? Like, I paid for them. And then after, I'm like, you know what? Can you just ship the rest to me? Because I didn't want him to get suspicious before I bought them. And so, yeah, what I have here, I have Electrocop, Gates of Zendokan, I think, Slime World, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Kung Fu, Chips Challenge, Power Factor, Road Blaster, Pit Fighter. Let me go to my second picture of games. Gauntlet, Dracula, Blue Lightning, Crystal Mines 2, APB. This one, Zolar, Pinball Jam, which has Elvira, Hydra, Super Sweek, which I never heard of, and Batman Returns.
Okay.
And then
Batman Returns was in my like Incredible Lynx find from many years ago.
What's that?
Batman Returns is one of the games from my like Incredible Lynx find many years ago.
Yeah. But so, I guess I'm gonna have to open these, right? Because I have an Analog Pocket, and that doesn't have a Lynx core. You have to play originals right now for it to work. So
you got to buy the $100 adapter, and then
I already got all those.
It's not $100 adapter. You have to buy a set of 3 adapters that come out to $100. It's something like that, right?
Yeah, it's something weird like that. But
maybe they're on sale. Let me check. I still haven't bought those for the exact reason.
I was Lynx, Neo Geo Pocket Color, which I am looking for more Pocket Color games. So if any listeners selling some Pocket Color games, please email us. I might pick them up. The only one I have is Sonic whatever the Sonic Pocket one is, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I was gonna buy the Lynx adapter, but I felt like it was such a ripoff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll play it into buying it. Let's see here. Products. How much is it right now? I don't want the Duo. I don't want this. How do I just buy?
But the set is TG16 PC Engine, and then the other one is Neo Geo Pocket Color, and then Lynx. Yeah, I'm looking for this as well. And
oh wait, store. You gotta click this as store, and then there it is. Pocket adapter set, $99. TurboGrafx 16, PC Engine Super Graphics, Neo Geo Pocket, and Atari Lynx.
mm-hmm.
That's right, because I did purchase the $30 Game Gear adapter. I did splurge on that. And then I looked at the other ones. I said, well, I have like a dozen Lynx games. Don't really love any of them. I own one Neo Geo Pocket Color game.
Which one?
And Pac-Man.
Okay.
Which is Pac-Man. I have plenty of ways to play Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And TurboGrafx 16, which I'm like, okay, yeah, but I don't really like a lot of the chip games. I mean, I like some chip games, but I don't know. There's some chip games I like, but most of them I prefer the CD games by a lot.
How much was it on their site?
$99.
And they still have them available?
The add to cart button is currently highlighted. I'm hovering over it.
Because you can buy them on eBay for $320 if you want.
And I can still buy an Analog Duo, which I have many times looked at and come close to adding to cart and then did not.
It is a cool system.
Let me think about it right now. $250.
Wait till you have a few beers. Have a few beers and then think about it.
Yeah, this is why, no. All right, let's move on.
That was our topic. A very good pickup there. I did not expect that to happen, but let's see. Should I talk about my Game Club game?
Yeah, we had some Game Club games, some kind of interesting ones.
Yeah, so I did Robotron 2084, which is a Eugene Jarvis game, who seems like a very cool dude. Yeah, if you're listening to this podcast, you probably know about this game. It's a twin stick, shooter. I don't know if it's the first or not. I did not do any research about that, but they did get it right. And I think I say this about any game released between 82 and 84, but it seemed really advanced for the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you play as a rogue human who is trying to kill all the, AI robots. It's very topical, actually. And to save, the last family on Earth? I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, there was some inbreeding problems if you do that.
Yes. And let's see, what do my notes say here? I didn't realize until recently that Jarvis also did the Cruisin' series. I had no idea. But, he went on to do Narc, which I think we recently talked about. I forget if that was a Game Club game.
Yeah, it was a while ago. It was probably longer ago than you think.
Okay, yeah. Time has no meaning anymore. And I know this game seems more popular than Smash TV, but I do think I like Smash a little bit better. I could get pretty far in Smash. I played the arcade port on the Pocket this time. And I could only get 4 screens. I tried the 7800 port, and I couldn't get those controls down. They were too weird for me to adapt to.
Yeah. I mean, Smash TV feels like there's more content. It's maybe roughly the same. But, because the screen changes more, right?
There's more toasters, too.
More toasters. You win thousands of toasters in VCRs in Smash TV.
Yeah, what do you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, it's all right. I get why people love this game. I've never really liked it a lot. I did try a few different home versions. So tried the 7800 version. I actually own a boxed copy of that. Pretty accurate. I think that's a pretty fun one to do. I tried the Lynx version, which is kind of neat. So in that one, the player is always firing. And the A and B buttons rotate. So you use the D-pad to move around, and the A and B buttons rotate the direction that that you're shooting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, you could have done this on like the NES using that same idea. Now NES, of course, you have 2 controller ports, so you could have done it the right way. But if you only own one NES controller, then you could have done a system like that. But anyhow, it was I thought those were both good. But the real one is I decided to go look for it on Starcade.
Yeah.
Starcade. So there were 2 episodes that I found that had Starcade, and I just skipped around to get to the Robotron segment. So the first one is season 1, episode 6, which was another one of these weird like small child versus full-grown adult episodes.
Yes.
They were both really bad, and the adult was worse. That's what I wrote down. And then season 1, episode 9, 2 adults. I advise you don't Google them. I made that mistake. And they both were pretty good at the game. So that one was kind of interesting. But I thought it would be on more. But I only found those 2 episodes. And then someone wrote in about the Apple II version. So I fired that up too. On an emulator, of course. And I'll talk about that later. Because it gets mentioned in an email. I'll just say I thought that was a really, really well done port.
I should, since you mentioned the Lynx port, this game's the reason why I was Googling for Lynx games. I was like, oh yeah, the Pocket doesn't have an open FPGA Lynx core yet. And so I was like, maybe I could get Robotron on Lynx. I could just find the cart somewhere. And that's how it landed me on that back page of that web store. And
but Robotron was not one of the games you got.
Robotron was not one of my games, no. Okay. So I still don't own it.
Yes.
Let's move on to your game.
Yeah, so I picked East 4, and I said, whatever version you want to talk about, like or watch a speed run of or whatever, it's fine. I realize like technically the PC Engine CD and the Super Famicom version are different games, but I don't care. They're kind of both East 4. My favorite version is the PC Engine one, which of course is the non-canon version at this point. Mostly because Hudson just took a lot of liberties with the story and characters, but they ended up making a great game. So I bought this a long time ago. I bought it back when you could like import it for $10 or less, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can probably, I don't know what it imports for now, but it's probably more than $10. I don't know.
I think I got it around the same time too. It was just one I needed. I just needed to own it.
Yeah, I just wanted to get the soundtrack. Well, I bought it more for the soundtrack at the time. But then there was a fan translation a few years ago, right? Well, more than a few, but there was a really good fan translation that even redid the voiceover on it. And it was really outstanding. It's kind of, I really say it's really a shame because, if we got an East 4 in the US, I don't think it would have salvaged the TurboGrafx 16 CD, but it would have been like a huge gem of the system, something that people would remember. Now, maybe these series are more popular today because of it. A lot like East 2, there is a spot, like it is a very grindy game. You have to spend a whole lot of time gaining levels, but there is a spot where you can kind of just tape down the rapid fire button for a while. It's a little bit late in the game, but it's good. It's about when you need to gain a bunch of levels. Then there's the remake that is on Vita and PS4. Vita version was like a pre-order for me. I have like the giant oversized box with somewhere over here with all the add-ons and bonus stuff that it comes with, whatever. I like that one a lot. I like they added like this camping system that they reused in East 8 where like you find a camping spot and when you camp, it advances the story in some way. Like it triggers like a big story event. So I thought that was kind of fun. And then PS4 version, I don't know. I didn't play it this year, but about every 2 to 3 years, I do like a New Game Plus run of that, which is really, New Game Plus is pretty short. Invincible. What else did I put here? Oh, yes, there's a PlayStation 2 version that was Japan only. And of course, the PlayStation 2 is region locked. That's a really expensive game to import now. And even if I had it, I still wouldn't be able to play it. I've only ever imported one of the East games because it was cheap. Like East 1 and 2 for PlayStation 2 was really cheap. I don't have anything to play it on, but I guess I have it. And Super Nintendo version is still a backlog for me. Very ashamed of that. I own a physical copy of it. And of course, it's a fan translation. And much like Bowser's Inside Story, I just always find a reason not to start it.
Yeah, yeah.
And just a few notes here. So like, it had this. It's the same soundtrack on all the systems. They had a group of like 4 composers that basically did every game between like 92 and 97, and one composer that had been on basically till the turn of the century. It's a Falcom game, kind of a weird time. The original developers of the East series had recently left the company to start the company Quintet. They made a bunch of Super Nintendo games. So in-house, they were only working on Legend of Heroes, which is a like turn-based RPG, and that meant like East 4 and East 5 were like, they did the soundtrack because they had a composer team, but they kicked the actual game development off to other companies. And I think we should include a link to the Hardcore Gaming 101 write-up on East 4, because I think they describe it all much better than I did.
Where generally would you rank this within the East games?
I usually rank it pretty high. I mean, I will still put 8 as first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if this is... I gotta think of the order. I gotta think of all the other games, too. I mean, 9 is pretty good, and 6, of course, is really good as well. I only played 7 once. It's a little hard for me to remember everything about it. But it's, upper third of the games.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. It's actually ranked really high for me. I really like this game.
Yeah, I mean, as for TurboGrafx games, I'd probably rank it number 1.
Yeah, I might as well. Yeah.
So what are your other impressions of East 4?
Yeah, like in my notes, I go between 2 and 4 being the best of the East OG games. I can never remember the plot of any East game. Like, you could bring up like the Romans or the deal. The differences between the plot in this one and the Super Nintendo port. It's like all I remember is Amnesia, Shipwrecks, and an adventure. It's really all you need. What else matters?
I don't think there's a shipwreck. This one, I think it starts with it takes place immediately after East 2, because 3 actually takes place after 4, because that's how they like to mess with the timeline. And I believe it is that the doctor from East 1 and 2, there's a Dr. Flair in the TurboGrafx version, Dr. Not Flair in the other versions, gets, you're accompanying him back home to his homeland.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it starts. And then you stumble into an adventure. Now, the Vita in PS4 remake definitely has amnesia. It's like, you just defeated God, and now I can't remember what I just did.
Yeah. And let's see, what else did I put here? I did write about the ports and them being so lax about different stories and different platforms. It kind of reminded me of the latest Star Wars sequels, where they just didn't write everything first and kind of let the directors do what they wanted, and that's the end result we got.
Right, you had 3 movies with the same lead character that had no common
plan. Yeah,
them.
No plan. Yeah. And not that I'm bitter or anything. And let's see, I wrote that the PC Engine port looked better than the Super Nintendo port. I think it sounds better too. And let's see, and I wrote that I think it might be rare that an SNES port looks worse than a PC Engine port. I couldn't think of any other examples of that happening. And let's see, yeah, I never played the PS2 port. It looks great though. And I always remember Celceta as getting me back into gaming when that came out, but it was actually Arc. Celceta was way later, so it was actually Arc that got me back in. But
did you play Arc on PSP or on PS2?
PSP.
Okay.
Yep. Both great games. And what are you going to play next?
So I'm going to do, for the next couple weeks, I'm going to do some summer games. So games that feel like summertime to me. And I'm going to start with Rad Racer.
Nice.
I don't know why I think of it as a summer game. It just feels like summertime to me, man.
Well, I'm going to do, in honor of Canada Day, I guess, I'm going to do Timber. And we talked about it recently for some reasons.
Yeah. I saw in the notes that we referenced Timber. You mentioned that. And I don't remember why we were talking about Timber. I think I had mentioned that the lead character from Tapper was in another game.
Yeah. So
he's now a lumberjack.
If any of our listeners play Rad Racer, Timber, East 4, any port of East 4, Robotron, if you compile the Doom FX SNES source code, if you play the new Dune 2 remaster or anything we talked about, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. We have social pages where you can also interact with us. A Discord. We have a link tree you could see in our show notes to see all that stuff. And Zach takes care of all that. Thank you, Zach. And while he's also taking care of his own podcast, too. So I really appreciate it. And let's see. We have a few emails here. Jimmy from another podcast, the Pie Factory podcast, writes in, and just a quick note, that the Apple II port of Robotron is surprisingly good. And also, if we haven't played Jeff Minter's Llamatron, that it's amazing as well.
Okay.
And
so this inspired me to try the Apple II port. So Zach made a comment that game freaked him out as a kid because of the music, or sound effects, I should say. So there's a link out here to the archive.org version of it. And I don't know if you give this one a try. It's a really good version of Robotron, man. It looks really nice. Obviously, with the keyboard, you can, you have enough buttons to emulate the arcade experience.
Yeah.
Great. Great version. I was surprised because most Apple, I've tried other Apple II like arcade ports. As I mentioned before, I occasionally will try to set up an Apple II machine. And yeah, the arcade ports are usually bad. I usually think I'm going to set up the Apple II to play like old gold box D&D games, but as you noted, there's much better ways to play those than on an Apple II.
Yeah.
Adam writes in about a few things about my comments about wanting different hobbies in life, and he said that he recently got back into golf. He grew up across the street from a golf course and would sneak on it in the evenings to play a few holes. He came to really love it, but eventually, real life put a damper on all that. But now his kids are older. It sounds like they're the same age as mine, really. So he's picking up golf again. He also, at one point, took up flooring, and I think is advising me against it here. It says over summer fall, he replaced the entire basement floor and the upstairs living room and kitchen and the bathrooms, about 2,800 square feet. Would have been great to have some help. Gave it up and got back into gaming. And listen to like our podcasts and others while doing the flooring, which is what I would do too. I'm still thinking about how seriously I want to do this.
Yeah.
I talked to so this is Adam. I'm going to finish your email in a minute. I'm really sorry. I was talking to a friend of mine who did his floors at his house, and he's like, "Oh, putting the floors in is the easy part. It's taking the floors out that will, is the worst part ever."
I can imagine.
Taking the old floors out, I'm like, oh yeah, that is a good point. This is why, like in my house, part of the floors that I want to replace are tile floors over linoleum. So what happened is our house was built in the 1970s when weird, funky linoleum colors were in style.
Yeah.
So we had like a linoleum floor, and then another set of owners came in and just on part of the house laid tile on top of the linoleum and a carpet on top of it as well.
Wow.
On other parts. And it looks awful. It's got to go. But now I'm like, oh, wait, I got to take that. I mean, I got to get this down to subfloor. Ugh. That's going to be a bad time, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. But, winter, what else do I have to do? All right, back to Am's email. Robotron. He's loved the Robotron ever since he had first played it on the 7800 back in 2013. So I guess he was he said he learned about it through the Atari Age forums. And he thinks it's the best twin stick shooter ever created with a perfect balance of difficulty and pacing. Saving the human mechanic is done very well. His favorite screen is where the broccoli-headed dudes and the tanks are on the screen at the same time, around like level 6 or 7. Recently downsized his collection and mostly plays Robotron in MAME with an Xbox 360 controller. On the topic of 360, to answer your question, about the biggest technological leap in console generations. For him, it was the 7th generation. I don't know what that translates to. He said he sold his Xbox because he wanted to slim down the number of subscriptions in life. So it's Xbox Series S he's talking about. And went back to his favorite generation of consoles. The backwards compatibility in the 360 and PS3 generation was spectacular.
Yes.
And those games all still look great.
Yep.
So there you go.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I agree. That was... the era of Wii, PS3, 360, that is a really good era for gaming.
It really is.
The S was in there too.
Yeah. Yeah, Adam, thanks for that email. And we have some social answers for the question of what's the biggest technological leap between console generations, which I thought was a conversation we had on this podcast, but it was just an email that you, I, and Zach had with each other. And so, just so everyone knows, we're nerdy in emails as well. And so someone writes in...
I'll give you my answer at the end of this.
Okay, yeah. Someone writes in and says the PlayStation to the PlayStation 2, someone else, the 2600 to the Vectrex, but not sure if there are a generation gap between them. Fifth to sixth, which I'm not sure. I always get the numbered generations wrong. And then someone says...
if only some dude, if only some, random bozo on the internet put together, a giant diagram.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
That's why I'm, really embarrassed. Oh, wait, that's right, I did this, didn't I?
And then...
hold on. Console timeline. Which generation is he saying?
Fifth to sixth.
Fifth to sixth. Okay, so that would be the PlayStation, Saturn, Nintendo 64 to Xbox, GameCube, PlayStation 2.
And that's my answer as well. Technically, it's the biggest polygon leap. We could get into numbers later, but let's see. Someone says between handhelds by Nintendo. So Game Boy Color to GBA, and then to the DS. It's pretty huge. Someone says fourth to fifth. So what would that be? That would be 2D to 3D, right?
Yes, there would be the 2D systems to 3D polygon systems.
Yeah. Someone else says 16-bit to PlayStation, so that's the same. Wireless controllers.
Yeah. Good wireless controllers, I would say, are a huge improvement.
So that'd be PS3 era. Yeah. And what else? A few other people just say 16 to 32. So, and then someone answers, their comments about Ys 4, and they pretty much say in which one. And they say Dawn of Ys for PC Engine is the better one.
Better one, yeah. Yeah, Mask of the Sun is the official canon version at this point, but...
Yeah, which is strange.
Yeah, it followed Falcom's story closer because that's what the remake is based on. In terms of console leaps, I'm going to stick with what I said in email, which is my very generic, not CD to CD. Both with console and especially PC games.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think the additional storage is just the storage and then the addition of real audio. I mean, I like chiptunes. I again love chiptune music, but it's a pretty big jump to be able to have actual, studio music in games. And if you look, I just had kind of commented about the TurboGrafx. I like the TurboGrafx CD a lot. I have a big stack of CD games over here. I fire it up all the time. But not a lot of chip games that I'm into on it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I want to say there's no wrong answer, but there are a few wrong answers. I don't think that is a wrong answer. PS1 to PS2, in terms of polygon math, that, mathematically is the biggest one, unless you do by colors. Then it's 8-bit to 16-bit because you could only have so many colors on a screen.
Yeah, so. I think you're trying to take this in a very literal, mathematical sense.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Most, I think, are taking it in an experience. What kind of looked different. I saw my diagram up. Going from GameCube to Wii is not much of a noticeable difference. If you were to do all the polygon and colors or whatever math, there's basically no difference between the GameCube and Wii, more or less. More or less. Go ahead, write me a hate mail. I don't care. And even like the Nintendo DS doesn't feel that much more like technically advanced than the Game Boy Advance.
Mm-hmm.
But man, is there a leap in gameplay, like that just completely like overwhelms any technical changes.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, I do think that even though there's a bigger polygon difference between PS1 and PS2, the PS3 was the first one where I thought, oh yeah, we're playing Pixar movies now, and I don't think we've really gotten further past it. Like, I know like fur and hair look a lot more real now, and blood and all that stuff, but it doesn't feel like it made that big of a jump since then. So
yeah. I look at the current systems like PS5, Xbox Series XS, Switch. Like, it doesn't feel like a huge jump. I mean, still to this day, the best game on Nintendo Switch is still the best game that was on the Wii U.
Yes, you're right. Yeah.
And they don't look. I challenge anyone to show me a visual difference between Breath of the Wild on Wii U or on Switch.
Exactly. Yeah. And our next question of the episode is, what are the best Atari Lynx handheld games? So again, email at retrogameclub.net, get on our Discord and all that stuff. And I think that wraps it up.
Yes. So thanks for listening.